Welcome to Litimate Conversations. We're so excited that this is our first episode, and we hope that you stick with us today and for the run of the rest of the episodes. We want to just give you a quick understanding of the idea of Litimate Conversations. It's not going to be your typical library podcast. What do you say, Kim?
No, because we're not typical librarians. Well, I'm not a librarian.
So first, let us give an introduction of ourselves. I am Kimberly Clayton, and
I am Kim Jones.
And it was our idea to put together a podcast that focused on the collection of the library and the books that we read as librarians, because believe it or not, every day we get asked the question, what are you reading? What is your favorite book? What do you recommend? So we're going to help kill some of that suspense, and every month we're going to go into a book that we are reading, have read, or enjoyed, and we're going to share it with you in this space. Mm-hmm. Now, the name Litimate Conversations is a play on words.
It is because, of course, we work at the library, librarians, and we are fabulous with literature. And we want you guys to have a real intimate conversation with us. So today we're going to talk about
one of my favorite books. I am the culprit for recommending this particular book. So if you need to side-eye anybody, it is me. Every month we will introduce a book, and some months we will have special guests who will come in and kind of elaborate on some of the important themes of the books. So it's going to turn into a real big book friend talk as we progress through our episodes. This month our book is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Emeze Akweke. And she is one of the most prolific writers of about the last decade. She did a lot of writing during COVID. She took advantage of the time. And over the last, I think, 5 years or so, she has released 7 books. And we have 3 right here on our table in front of us.
And I just want to say, you guys, if you have not read this book, by the time we give you the tea on it, you will read it. And please come in person and speak to Kimberly Clayton, not Kim Jones, so you can give her the side eye, because I was in her office and she said, did you read this book? And I immediately downloaded it. And baby, okay.
So let's stop with the introductions. Let's get into the book. How about it? So Kim, what were your first impressions of the book? I have to laugh because when I recommend this book to people, I tell them immediately, the scandal starts on page 5. Mm-hmm. The drama starts on page 5. Mm-hmm. You don't get very far into the book before you realize that Feye is all about the business. So what was your first impression of the book?
For me, it was the way she casually took it and was like, all right, have a good day. Like, she took it. Like, she was like, I'm going to take this. Thank you very much. Have a good day. And I was like, turn the page immediately after that. Like, it was the way she did it.
It definitely pulls you into the book. And I like the way that she switches the tone of the book. It does start off with a lot of scandal. Mm-hmm. You're going to clutch your pearls in the first 10 pages because you're like, what is happening? What is going on with this girl? Why is she starting off like this? And as the book progresses, you begin to see that she is in a particular state that is controlling how she responds, reacts, and the decisions that she makes. So let's just get into it. So Faye is the main character of the book. She is talented. She's an artist.
She is.
She has a wonderful support with her best friend, Joy.
Who I love. Listen, I think that I am the joy in all of my friendships. When I look back over how she is as a person, she is very unapologetic but lovable.
Absolutely. I think if you had to take Joy and place her with a character that may be more recognizable or well known, she would definitely be the Tasha Smith. Any character that Tasha Smith has ever played. Mm-hmm. Why Did I Get Married? Mm-hmm. What's the new one?
Survival of the Thickest.
Survival of the Thickest.
Yep.
Every character where she plays the friend that tells it like it is, I think that's what we get from Joy. So when we look at Faye, let's look at her progression. So Faye is still grieving her late husband, and that is the theme of the book. Yes, you get down and there's some romance and there's the forbidden love later in the book. There's a lot of dating, there's a lot of trying this and trying that. But the overall theme of the book is Faye dealing with the grief of her husband. How did you connect with her in grief and her search for love? Could you connect with that part?
So I can, not because of a death, but just because of the ending of relationships feel like a death. I can definitely relate to that when you're no longer close to that person or you no longer have that person to touch and to smell and to feel. So yeah, I can totally I see that in myself. But reading this book made me realize stop judging people because you don't know how they're dealing with their situation and everybody deals with it differently. And because of that, I have blinders off with certain things now and the way people deal with their grief in their personal lives. Like, it's okay. However you feel like you need to deal with it, it's okay.
I think that's a very important point because everybody reacts to grief differently. Being a person who experienced grief very early in life with the loss of one of my grandmothers, and most recently having had to navigate the loss of one of my cousins who I was very close with, and then my best friend who was like my sister, I think life or grief plays important parts in all aspects of your life, no matter who it is. It affects every way that you navigate, right? So Faye lost her husband, and of course that's going to affect her romantic love, but I think all loss affects all aspects of your life, whether it's romantic, platonic, familial. It's going to make a change in how you navigate things. And I think just from the start of the book alone, you could tell that Faye was in the reckless stage of grief, right? She was like, I don't care what I do. I'm going to do what I have to do to keep from feeling these feelings. And that's what she was doing. She was reacting in a way and kind of navigating her life in a way where she felt like she could have these entanglements, for lack of a better word, and it would reduce her chances of having feelings.
Right, of being attached. But I got the impression, so when the book starts, it kind of picks up where she is deciding whether or not she wants to be reckless. Like in the very beginning, she's deciding that. So in my mind, being a visual person, I felt like she went through several other stages before she even got to the reckless point. And she had to find a space where she wanted to come out of the sadness and the hurt and the pain and not dwell in that space because she even moved. So she wanted to come out of that and not make that a part of her everyday life, which led to the reckless state. So she didn't just automatically jump out and be reckless, in my mind.
I think when you think about the passage in the book, after she made the decision that she made and she kind of discarded that individual, she replayed what happened to her husband. And that was kind of our first introduction of understanding that Faye was dealing with grief. Because you open the book and you're like, this girl is wild. And then you have this phrase that says Faye recalls the accident: screeching tires, shattered glass, and scattered flowers from her wedding bouquet. This memory intrudes on her present, showing how grief continues to shadow her. And then you're thinking like, oh, she lost somebody.
Yeah.
Who did she lose? You know, and I think Emeze Okweke did a wonderful job of kind of building the suspense of the grief, because you had to get through that entire passage to learn who she lost. So as you're reading this and you're understanding these feelings that she's going through and the police coming and her identifying, you're still trying to figure out, well, who did she lose? Is it a father? Is it a friend? Is it a child? And then you find out it's her husband.
It's her husband, very
and
early.
they're very, very early married. So you can understand how her grief did not kind of have it developed pretty aggressively, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And being young, newly married, she had a lot of emotions that she had to deal with.
And then
So,
on top of that, like the physical scarring, you know, the
hmm
physical scarring, like she had to wake up every day and see the residual damage of that accident.
hmm
And I was like, I don't know if I could do that. If I loved somebody so deeply and lost them so quickly, if I could still wake up and see the scarring and constant reminder, oh, this I'm dealing with this again today.
hmm
You know, that was deep for me.
so let's talk about the characters in the book, because we're focusing on Faye and we're kind of getting deeper into the book and how the book progresses. Who is your favorite character? Because mine most definitely had to be Akeem. I think the forbidden love type of thing was appealing to me. I I felt sorry for Nasir, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did feel sorry for Nasir because I do feel like Nasir truly cared for Faye. He opened up a part of his life. He was very vulnerable with her.
Mm-hmm.
And
He was a good guy.
he was a very good guy. And
Mm-hmm.
understanding how men hesitate with vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of had his betrayed, I felt sorry for him.
And the fact that he was betrayed in his own space.
In a space that he opened up to her.
Right.
However, I love to see the description of Akeem.
Mm-hmm.
I also love to see how Akeem continued to develop, because as we went through their connection kind of building, we learned more and more about Akeem. And if you think about it, we really didn't learn about the heaviness of his grief until they kind of reached the pinnacle of how their relationship was going to take a turn, Faye and Akeem. And so I enjoyed being able to see him be his quote unquote eccentric, different, or how, as they described him in the book, feminine self, but also be allowed to love in the space where he was hurting, where he carried pain. So, who is your favorite character?
Hands down, my favorite character through this entire book was Joy. But I have a question for you. So, who does he look like to you in your visual?
So, if I had to choose a TV show that was on right now, it would definitely be Horace Bellery. He would definitely give me Horace Bellery. But the more I think about it, he had locks. He had a very specific way of dressing, the way they kind of described how he held his hands, and the particular ways that he took care of his skin and his appearance and his nails, and that she was very, very descriptive in ensuring that we understood that this was a well-kept
Well-groomed.
man.
Yeah, he was well-groomed.
He took care of himself. It's kind of hard, but I think if I had to pick, it would be a mix between probably Horace Bellery, the character, and then his name just left my mind, but he played Shazza on Different World. I know his name,
Oh,
and his name won't
Blue
come to
Eyes.
mind. Yes, I think if you take them and you mix them up,
He's from well, he had lots when he was on Different World.
yes.
But he also plays on CSI or
Yeah, he plays on one
SUV,
of like
one of
the
those.
detective shows, and his name has completely left my mind. But if you watch A Different World, you know who I'm talking about, because who doesn't know Shazza, right?
Freddie
But-
old man.
But I think I picture like a combination. I haven't watched enough new TV to pick up a character, but he definitely would have lots, beautiful skin, very, very prominent features that you can't forget.
I just want to say your descriptive makes me want to say Mufasa. It does. The way you're describing this character, like when you said Horace, I was already like, oh yeah, because of and just the way he carried himself, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see that. But now that you're adding that little twist to it, I was like, Let me go read. Let me reread this real quick.
So who was yours?
Um, yeah, yeah, I would definitely say Akeem because I love the way that he cared for her. I was like, dang, yeah, she did some of this. She was dirty for that though. She was dirty for that now. And instead of, she didn't even say it out loud on her own. You know, it was
Yeah.
kind of like just out in the streets.
But do you feel like the signs were there? I feel like Nasir missed a lot of red flags in Faye. I think she was very closed from the beginning of their encounter with each other. And I
She
think
was.
he was trying to open her up, and I do give him credit for that. But I think, was there a point where Nasir should have been like, I'm not going to keep doing this with you? Do you think he, in having her invited to the art show, having her placed in the art show, do you think him kind of meshing her talent with their budding relationship was a bit much?
Yes, because I'm a firm believer that professionalism and personalism, like in that space, does not go well together. Like we can't do business and do.
But Nasir
I'm gonna be
wasn't the one
sensitive.
doing the business. He just had a connection that kind of answered Faye's dreams. So,
Right, but I feel like that connection kind of gave him a certain expectation. Like I'm fulfilling this dream for her that she would reciprocate. And I don't think that, like you said, there were red flags from the beginning, from the very beginning of their interaction. Like she was not opening up the way he would have liked her to. So, yeah, there was red flags, but at the same time, I'm like, girl, you could have said the words.
but I mean, okay, let's be honest. This book did not shy away from being messy. The whole book was messy. From everything, the friendships were messy, the romantic relationships were messy. Faye was a mess. Everybody was a mess. It was a whole mess. The whole book was a mess.
You know what?
But the love was complicated as well.
It was.
So
But I just want to say this. You know, a book is messy when the men are messy in the book.
the men were messy. All
The
of
men were
the men were equally as messy as the women. And then you throw in the forbidden love aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So you take all of that and put it in a pot and stir it up, and it's nothing but tension. I mean,
Right.
it caused tension between Faye and Joy,
Right.
Faye and Nasir,
Right.
Nasir and his dad.
Right.
At one point, there was tension between Faye and Akeem. There was
Right.
tension everywhere. Can't remember her name, but Nasir's sister, Akeem's daughter. There was tension there. So there was tension all over the book.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that Akeem had any regrets, like about what happened, like the fear of losing his son? Do you think?
No, I think you do crazy stuff when you're in love, and I think he realized that he was in a place where he could love and be loved in the way that he needed it, and I think he was more focused on that. I mean, it sounds cutthroat, but I think that's what happened in my eyes.
So and I will say this too. From experience, I have learned that sometimes the people that you think are in your life for one reason are really in your life to introduce you to your actual purpose. I will say that. And that includes relationships. You might think that, oh, I'm dating this guy and he's great or whatever, and then boom, he introduced you to his friends. And you're like, oh,
Wrong friend.
wrong friend, right? And then you have to deal with oh, is it okay if I, like, especially as women, we have to deal with like, oh, is it okay if I like this other friend?
It's
And
never okay. It's never okay. And you
I'm
know
not
what?
saying it is. I'm not saying it is.
Honestly, I think thankfully I have never experienced the wrong friend feeling.
I have had people who have experienced the wrong friend feeling, and I was like, girl, everybody can see that it's the wrong friend. And one of my friends actually married the wrong friend. It was bad. It
So
was.
we're talking about friends. Let's keep talking about friends. Let's talk about Joy and Faye's friendship.
Mhm.
how do you think the intimacy of their friendship compared to the intimacy of the romantic relationships that Faye was trying to build?
I feel like Joy allowed Faye to be safe.
Okay.
She gave her permission to, like, don't get me wrong. If she was wrong, she was like, nah, you wrong with that one. But it wasn't, it was stern enough to be done with love.
Okay.
However, I do believe that she gave her the space that she needed to heal and to find herself and to be supportive of the journey that Faye chose to take.
So at one point in the book, Joy says, I think you're worried that it's not real, but babe, if it's real, the distance won't change it. Mm-hmm. Do you think Joy's place in Faye's life was one of challenge, one of grounding, one of support, or kind of a melting pot of all three?
It was definitely a melting pot of all three. And especially the grounding and it was definitely a melting pot. Yeah.
Okay. So we have the friendship. We've kind of established the friendship. We've established the scandal. We've established the romantic love and the relationships that kind of take a hit in the thing within the themes of the book. Let's talk about the themes of the book a little further. Mm-hmm. So grief and desire run side by side throughout the book. What do you think Emize is saying about the balance between holding on and letting go to move forward? Is there a balance?
I don't think there is. And so this is the thing. You're always taught in order to get new things, you gotta let old things go.
Okay.
You can't catch blessings with closed hands. So if you're holding on tight to like, oh, but I just got this and I want to keep it. If you're holding on so tight, how are you going to actually experience the better?
Okay.
So no, they can't go hand in hand. You gotta let go to level up.
So I think I disagree just a little bit. I think the reason there had to be balance in this particular situation is because I think Faye had to be able to find a person that would support her in her healing. She had not been in a place where she could properly heal because no one that was around her could really relate to the pain that she felt. And then there was Akeem who felt it from his perspective. And although they were in opposite roles of the relationship, they both lost a partner, a spouse. And I think she needed to be able to have that immediate relation, that immediate understanding of this is the loss. I didn't lose a friend. I didn't lose a pet. I didn't lose a parent. I lost who I consider to be the love of my life.
My life partner, yeah.
Right. And so I think the balance in that particular point of her grief and her desire were perfectly balanced with Akeem because she was in the space where she could be unhealed, but still be searching for what she needed. And he was, and fortunately, I guess you could say he was in the same space and they could provide their support, understanding, and kind of compassion for each other.
I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. But my question is, and hear me out, do you think she could have found that going to a grief group?
Of course she could have gone to a grief group, but was that what spoke to her situation?
Was it intimate enough for her? Is that what you're saying?
Right, maybe. And I think we did find that Faye was fairly private. I mean, she did the things that she wanted to do, but there were aspects of her life that she didn't open up. And I mean, we'll talk about her art in just a second, but she did art, but it was not known to everybody. That was not a part of her life that she opened up. So I think she had pockets of her life that she kept tucked away. And I think her grief was one of those pockets that she kept tucked away. You know, if you think about parts in the story, she would lose. Her emotions would take over her at certain inopportune moments. And she would have to kind of piece herself back together because she was kind of drifting into the heaviness of the grief. And I think she needed to be with somebody that was going to allow her to be.
Hmm. I also think that sometimes when you go to, you don't necessarily have to even talk. It's like a AA meeting. You can go and sit and listen and know that other people are relating to what you're going through, and you don't necessarily have to pull yourself like, and you don't have to pour yourself into that. I feel like maybe, and I'm referring to her like Faye is a real person because she is. She my new homegirl. But I feel like maybe someone should have guided her to a grief counselor early on, to a grief group early on, so that she could be like, oh, okay, well, I'm not the only one. It might have helped her heal a little better.
I think too we have to take into consideration that she was very much aware of her cultural upbringing.
She was.
And that played a part in the strength that she was forced to carry as well. So I think there were a lot of moving parts in playing with how she dealt with the grief. Mm-hmm. And I mean, understanding that culture, environment, things like that play a big part in how you handle situations. And so if she was raised in a culture that, and I don't want to say they stifle grief, but there's kind of this underlying understanding of you got stuff to do. You know what I mean? And so she learned how to navigate life in the best way she could, making the decisions that she made.
And you know what? I'm gonna just say this. I literally just told somebody that the other day. They were like, sometimes you just need to take a minute to fall apart. I was like, I can't relate because I have things I have to do.
And if you don't fall apart, if you don't take the time to fall apart, falling apart will find you. And I think that's what we have to understand. And being a person who kind of is guilty of, I'm just going to power through these feelings. I'm going to power through this grief. And I recall like when my best friend passed away, she passed away in September of 2021. And I went, y'all, like a full 18 months without crying. I cried when she was in the hospital and kind of dealt with like the possibility of losing her, but I didn't cry for over a year. And my mama kept telling me, you need to sit down somewhere. And you kind of need to sit in the fact that she's not coming back. You've lost that relationship. Like grief is a big thing. And I remember one day being in my office at work, and I'm a person who listens to music all day. And it was not like a song that would have normally triggered me. And when I tell you, I went completely into hyperventilation. Like I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't stop crying. I was crying from the depths of my body. Like the cry was coming from so deep. I just had to call my mom and I was like, put me back together. I'm in my office and I'm like, I can't stop crying. And my mom was on the phone and she was like, okay, but I told you so. I have one of those moms, right? But she was sympathetic in the fact of, I knew this was going to happen. It wasn't necessarily an I told you so, but it was a loving I told you so. And I had to pack up my stuff that day because I had to let myself allow this grief to exit in the way that it needed to. So I think what Faye was doing was she was running away from it. So
Physically running away from
it. So let's talk about how Emeze told this story, right? A lot of the book was lyrical. A lot of it could have been poetry. It was definitely poetry in motion. The other part of it was unapologetically raw, i.e., the beginning of the book in the bathroom scene, right?
She's trapped in the bathroom. Sorry.
When we talk about her writing, I think we both can safely say that bathroom scene is one of the scenes that stuck with us in the book.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When I tell you the way I thought I was never going to see that man again, the way she did him. The way she did him, I thought I would never see him again in that book.
And he did pop up.
He popped back up.
I think another scene that stuck out to me was Akeem cooking in his test kitchen. I think that was one of the sweetest, most
Intimate.
frustratingly intimate scenes in the book, because that was the moment where you were like, oh, they really finna do this. They about to get down in this book.
Yeah.
And you began to realize that the forbidden love was not just there, it was evolving. And they were both kind of fighting away from it. So that was my scene. That was my other scene. I think I had a lot, though. I had a lot because them doing the hike to the mountain.
So let me say this. I am a sucker for a good love story.
This was a great one.
And this is a phenomenal love story. And you don't see the love coming. Like, you don't see it. Like, you think, okay, so she's slow dragging with this one person, but they'll work things out in the end. And then it's kind of like, choo, wait a minute. What is that? What? Okay, then. That's literally how I was feeling when I was reading the book. It was like, all right, so eventually they're going to get this together. And then, no, it was a stepping stone for her.
So I was very curious about the title of the book, right?
I was going to ask you. So what do you think the name of the book should have been, if not?
No. Okay, so again, I'm a big music person. And I am looking this up because I want to be able to I want to be able to look up the music group. So the name of the title of the book came from a song by a group called Florence and the Machine from 2018, and the song is called Hunger. But the title comes from one of the lyrics, and it says, in that pink dress, they're going to crucify me. Oh, and you and all your vibrant youth, how could anything bad ever happen to you? You made a fool of death with your beauty. And for a moment, I thought that love was in the drugs, but the more I took, the more it took away. Mm-hmm. And so I think when you think about, I don't know if she was listening to this when you wrote this. And by the way, I love authors that create the playlists. She didn't do this, but I love authors that create playlists based on where they are in the book. Like they take note of the songs that are playing when they're writing certain. I think that's an awesome thing.
I just want to say Kennedy Ryan does that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so does Danielle Thomas. Foreshadowing. So I think when you think about the lyrics, seemed like some type of forbidden love as well, but it also was a longing and kind of a desire. I think it tied directly into the story. I don't think I could have found, it's a long title, right? I always was thinking, could it have been shorter? Could she have made this shorter? But when I learned that it came from a song, I was like, no, that's the perfect title. Mm-hmm. When you think about the lyrics before, the lyrics after, definitely perfect. You think it should have a different title?
So, no.
Okay.
But whenever I say the title or read the title, I automatically think of You Made a Fool of Me, Tell Me Why.
Okay. By Michelle, whose last name we never can pronounce.
Right.
From Love and Basketball. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And it kind of has like a little tinge of that ending of Love and Basketball for me, where it's like you just automatically believe one thing, but then as you stew in it, it's like, no, it's something totally different. You know? And I'm not going to say anything about Love and Basketball because I'll get beat up later.
Yeah, no, we're not going to have the Love and Basketball conversation. That's a whole book in itself.
Right.
And that's a very contemptuous conversation,
right.
because we're going into it and we're not going to do that. Let's keep it moving. We'll talk about Love and Basketball, 90s TV. We'll have to find an episode to do that where maybe we do a 90s, because I'm big on 90s TV shows and 90s movies and things like that, because as you heard me quote Different World earlier, I was watching A Different World last night. Like it's on repeat. I think when we think about Okay, I mean, I guess we could play a little bit.
Well,
Would this tie into? Would this be a Whitley Dwayne type love, or would this
ooh,
be? So, would you label this? And as you're watching this, you can put this in the comments. Would you label this Whitley, Dwayne, and Byron, or would you label this Kim, Ron, and Freddie?
I would definitely label this Kim, Ron, and Freddie. And so hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Ron fought real hard
Did
to
he?
be in Kim's face.
Did he?
Like for seasons, we saw Ron going to bat to be in Kim's face, and Kim was not studying him at all.
But was not Dwayne doing the same thing with
What?
Whitley?
But there was an automatic connection with Ron and Freddie that was so undeniable, but yet forbidden because of their different beliefs. But they worked.
Ron was a womanizer.
Ron was a womanizer, and Freddie was a feminist.
I think Matthew was perfect for Kim. I
The
think
the other
the
doctor.
intensity. No. Matthew was Freddie's cousin who went to.
Oh, who from early
Yes,
on
who
they
went to
were
the other
perfect together.
college.
Yeah.
I do love her and Spencer together, and I love how the episode ended with her and Spencer getting engaged. But I think there were other characters that Kim experienced earlier that may have created the same amount of drama that she and Ron created.
It,
And we're going off on a tangent, but
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 90s TV. We're talking about 90s representation.
I just want to say this real quick. Just real quick. Gina was too good for Martin. Okay.
And now you're finna have our comments in an uproar.
I
And
said it. Friend, I said it. I said it, friend.
okay, so, so let's talk because we did go briefly on. Can you grab the book? We did speak briefly on the cultural representation of Faye's character. So there is some African culture that is written into the plot, but also the character is, the author is African as well.
Mhm.
So there are definitely some cultural components of the book that play from her life as an author.
Right.
Additionally, the author is queer, which is not known until you do research on the author. It is
Right.
not placed in her bio. It is not written heavily in the book because that's just who she is. And then also there is the understanding of the characters being black and kind of the nuance of black love.
Mhm.
I love this book for all of those reasons, but I also love the book because if you took those components out of the book and replaced those components of the book, it would not have taken away from the story at all. And I think that's a very important part of being a great writer. Most of the writers who do amazing writing have that component where you have these components that are wonderful to have in the story. But if for some reason the story had been written without those particular things in it, it would not have taken away from the book, the theme of the book. It may have taken away some of the flair, but not the full theme of the book.
Right.
What stood out to you the most about the different components of representation that she placed in the book?
When Faye goes with Nazir and they go to his father's home, to his home, the way that space was written spoke so much to me about the culture of the people there versus because it was a community, you know, and it was a close-knit community. And I think we tend to forget, especially in a space where things are often broken.
Okay.
We tend to forget community
That's a good point.
and the way that the community, that was something that stood out to me.
Okay. I think, yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Um, do you think it was important for Nasir to have come from an affluent family? Do you think that part of the book, when you found out that Akeem was, I guess, her celebrity crush in a sense, but when Joy found out who Akeem was, she was like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Faye made the correlation, I don't think it added to her intrigue of him, but I do think she became more focused on who he was as a person instead of as his celebrity. But do you think the components of the house on the hill and being away from the city and him being this celebrity chef and those particular components of them having money, do you think it was important to the story?
To the
If it
story,
had been struggle love, would it have been just as beautiful?
I can't stand a struggle love. I
Okay.
really can't, because
So,
I feel like you lose romance in the struggle love because you're too stressed out about other things.
really?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I don't want to be struggling with you. I want to be in love with you.
So this story would not have held the same weight if it had been struggle love?
Well, no, that's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say is, I think him being a celebrity chef was important to us,
Okay.
not important to her, not important to Faye.
Okay. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Like,
Okay.
because it made us feel like, oh, homegirl about to level. Okay. Okay. Right. High five, sis,
Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
But not to her. To her, it was more of the person that he was, aside from being a celebrity chef.
And I think that's what made their love
Mm-hmm.
their love. I think that's what made their love unique. And although it was forbidden, unplanned, and a little bit taboo,
Mm-hmm.
I think it ended up being a beautiful love story at the end.
Yeah.
So,
And then, a lot of celebrities, they don't they don't necessarily want to date somebody who is sprung on who they are celebrity wise.
true.
They want somebody that is either A, their equal, or B, oblivious to who they are. Like, oh, I don't listen to Toby Keith. I do listen to Toby Keith. But, oh, I don't listen to Toby Keith. And Toby Keith is like, oh, you don't listen to me?
And they find it intriguing.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Was the ending satisfying for you?
No, I definitely wanted more.
What?
No, so listen, I like the backstory, but I also wonder about characters after the story's over.
Who were you worried about?
No, I just want to know more.
Oh, you want the story to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. But
No, I'm
as
not
far as Faye and Akeem, were you satisfied
Oh,
with
yeah,
that
they're-
love?
yeah.
And were you satisfied with Nasir being in his feelings? Or did you think, was Nasir supposed to get over it?
I mean, again, I like to know what's going on afterwards. It's kind of like I create fan fiction in my head.
Interesting.
So, as far as I'm concerned, he was at the local washery and put a quarter in because somebody lost one.
You know what?
And boom, he found the love of his life, and now he flaunting her all across his daddy line.
I just can't with you.
You know?
What is that? Do you
Because he-
think individuals who have experienced grief, the same grief that Faye and Akeem experienced, spousal grief,
Mhm.
do you think they would have responded to the story as lightheartedly as we have?
No, absolutely not. Because it's peeling back a wound, like a scar of trauma. That's like reading a book about losing a baby and you lost a baby.
What was healing about the book for you?
Finding love. Like knowing, like, hey, after you lose who you believe to be your person, and they don't have to die, they could just be dead in your mind. But after you lose that person, knowing that I get a second chance.
It's so hard to believe in second chances sometimes,
Right.
right? But what we want you to do is give Emize, a quack at Emize, and I said her name backwards earlier. Akweke Emize, we want you to give her a second chance. She has numerous novels. We have Freshwater in front of us and the death of a Vivek Oje in front of us. She is a wonderful writer, a beautiful writer, and we ask that you give her a second chance. I think the last question that I have, and you all can answer this in the comments as well, but Kim, if you were now recommending this book to somebody, what would you highlight to draw them in?
Page 5. Don't even read 1 through 4. Go straight to page 5. Don't read 1 through 4. It's not any good information on those pages. Go straight to page 5, and then from there read on.
I think Amaze has added some amazing things to romance. I think she hasn't gone kind of the route of dark romance. She hasn't gone the route of traditional romance. I think she's created a niche that needs to be developed. I think more people need to, and I feel like it's a little bit more developed than your Harlequin forbidden love, right? Those Harlequin, it's not that kind of forbidden love. It's a more in-depth, deliberate forbidden love, right? Because she had a need to be healed, and she found that in somebody. And I think those kind of unintentional stories need to be told, I think.
So what you're saying is don't go out find the pudding.
No, don't do that. No, don't do that. I mean, what you think? First episode? We reached the end. We made it.
Wait, you didn't tell them what we're reading next.
Was I supposed to?
Yeah, let them know.
Do y'all want to know what we're reading next?
I do. Well, yeah,
You don't know what we're reading next?
I do, but I think I want them to know too.
Okay, let's talk about our October book. Let's reveal the title, and we'll give you a little bit more information about it. But Kim's going to let you know what our next book is, so you can stop into either one of our 6 Clayton County Library branches. We have branches all over the county here in Jonesboro, Riverdale, Morrow, Lovejoy, Forest Park. And we have 2 in Riverdale, actually. We have our Riverdale branch and our Northwest branch. You can stop at any of our 6 branches and get today's book or
The Body Keeps the Score.
which is our book for October.
Yes.
The Body Keeps the Score. We do have it in each of our 6 branches. And of course, we are a Pines Library. So if you can't get it in any of our 6 branches, we can get it for you. And we would love to have you join in on our conversation next month. We are so excited to have started this podcast. We hope that it develops into a beautiful space for discussion and healing, and that is kind of the premise and foundation of what we want to do here. Next month, we will have a special guest.
We will. I'm excited about this guest too.
Yes,
they've already started reading the book.
They're going to help us kind of interpret some of the important things of the book. We wanted this first episode to just be an introduction to us, but every month we're going to try to bring in a special guest to pull out the hard parts of each of the stories. Because what we want to foster in our community is the understanding that books heal. You don't just learn from books, you heal from books, you develop from books. And a lot of times you can become who you want to become from a book.
That is true, and it does not have to be a self-help book in order for you to become the person that you want to become. You can find your peace and your healing and your new beginning in somebody else's story. And I think that we should all remember that. Everybody's story has a little piece of something that you may need.
All right, so thank you all for tuning in today to our Litimate Conversation.
Yes.
We hope to get lit and intimate with you as the months come on.
And we have an exciting lineup for the next couple of months, so please stay tuned. Like, you guys are going to be ecstatic. It's only going to get better. And today was pretty awesome.
So until the next page turns, we'll see you soon.